This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect those of WPSL. However, we are the ones who encourage you to like and share them on social media because it's time for Martin County Roofing and independent insurance agent Rudy Howard to present for you tonight, live in the studio, The African American Scene, hosted by Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Well, needless to say, we have plenty of things going on. Not to mention the fact that there was some campaigns, primaries that were run yesterday, and some of which we still don't know the outcome. We don't know if Dr. Oz won or not, Mehmet Oz, but
I never knew he had a first name.
Yeah, I know, yeah, right, Oz. And believe it or not, there's a guy around here, a Hispanic guy, who has the nickname Oz. Nice guy, too.
He's probably a real whiz.
Yeah.
Wizard. Oz.
Oh, Cliff, come on.
I'm trying to behave. I'm really trying.
Well, I have to tell you, I don't think there's any secret about what I'm going to talk about tonight. You know, my wife asked me, she said, what are you going to talk about? I said, are you really going to ask me that? She said, she started laughing. She said, no. Now, I got a suggestion last week that I work on mortgage deed fraud, and I have indeed done some research. I've gathered some data, but I'm trying to get an expert to come on to talk about it. So hopefully maybe next week we'll be able to get into that. But I have gotten some information together about deed fraud. Evidently that's a pop-up thing again. Well, let me just say, it goes without saying, the Buffalo incident is a major, major tragedy. And it just so happens today I was at my golf course and I was sitting in the grill having a little bite to eat, and I met someone who happens to be from Buffalo. And she was telling me about what a great place it was for her to grow up, blah, blah. And how disappointed she was that they did that to her community. And generally speaking, she's opposed to the death penalty, but she said she would hope that that guy got immediately sentenced to death. Well, in the state of New York, they don't have the death penalty, but since it's going to be a certified hate crime, there's a good chance that he could get the death penalty from the federal government. I'm more than welcoming you to call in on 340-1590. That's 340-1590. First thing I want to say is Governor DeSantis is dead wrong. He is wrong as he could possibly be, and he is helping to fuel the antagonism and racism that is occurring within our society. Now, some people want to say that Trump created it. No, I don't think that. But what I do think is Trump allowed it to get up out of its grave. I think it had gone into the grave because there was such unfavorable view from the public at large about that kind of behavior that people pretty much had closed that off in terms of open expression. Trump made it okay to express that openly and out loud. But here's where I think the governor's wrong. And if he was sitting here, I'd tell it to him in his face. Right? I'd get in his nose to nose and tell him, you're wrong. He makes wokeness appear as though you're somehow stupid or improper to have a woke conscience about matters of race. He thinks that's overkill. He thinks that's harming our kids. He thinks they need to be protected from that. Well, how do you explain to your kids what happened on Saturday? Do you explain it? Should it be explained? I could tell you when I was in school, a topic like that, there's no doubt in my mind the next day we were in school, one of my teachers was going to talk about that in class. That is typically a subject of national recognition and needs to be talked about. But according to our governor, to talk about that, you would be woke. I hate that word. Because you talk about that, you'd be woke. And he does not like wokeness, whatever the hell that is, wokeness. But he's wrong, folks. And you may think that I'm wrong, and if you do, you call up and you and I can go at it nose to nose. But he's absolutely wrong. Our kids need to know, need to be able to understand. That's a discussion that needs to be had in the social studies class about what happened Saturday. Because there's kids that are scratching their head right now as I'm speaking, trying to figure out why did that happen? Little white kids are going to say, I don't know why that happened. A lot of the black kids in the school, their mom and dad's going to try to sit with them and talk to them and tell them why it happened and tell them historically about things in the past. But they need to have the discussion. Are you kidding me? They need to have the discussion. They need to know. Even if at the end of the day they think he's right for what he did, they still need to have the discussion. So I fault Governor DeSantis. I think he's dead wrong. And I pray to God that he gets defeated in the upcoming re-election, because he is a disaster for our state. And I'm tired of my friends from other states calling me up asking me, what's wrong with your governor? Well, part of what happened on Saturday was the result of what's called the replacement theory. How many of you had heard of replacement theory prior to Saturday? I had. I'd heard about it. You know where I heard about it? In some blurbs that I saw on the internet and on some excerpts that were played on the evening news from Tucker Carlson. I think Tucker Carlson is despicable. He's a liar and he's a flamethrower. And he has probably the largest following on the cable news networks. And here's the thing that most of you who follow him don't even get. When he gets sued about some of the things that he has said or perpetuates, he says, I'm not a news person. I'm a talk show host. He does it over and over, Cliff. That's his escape hatch.
Because it's his opinion.
Yes. He says it's not a fact, it's an opinion.
Why can't you and I express our opinions?
We can. I would think that that's irresponsible. it is okay to have an opinion, and it's okay to have an opinion that's different than mine, and I'm certainly okay with that. But when you have an opinion that is inflammatory, and that's not okay. You have to exercise some responsibility when you come onto these airways and endeavor to talk to people and give them information. You have a certain responsibility to the public as a whole about the things you say. And he's been very reckless about his speech, including doing, now this is the one that got me. In case y'all weren't aware, he went to Hungary and did a show with Viktor Orban, who just won another corrupt election there, because Viktor Orban's approach in his country is to have a pure white society. And so he was there to celebrate the way Viktor Orban is running his country. I don't know. Is that what you want? Is that America? That's not the America I know. So this replacement theory is stating that there is a move afoot to replace the rightful American citizens in positions of power within the government. That is the theory. The theory is that they're trying to replace white people in the power structures so as to create a more permanent democratic electorate. And the idea of doing it is by immigration and the natural browning of America. Here's the thing, though. I've talked about this before. I don't know how many times. The browning of America is happening right now, as we speak.
Well in progress, as a matter of fact. He's going to get us in trouble again, as usual. But then, of course, truth often causes trouble among the truthless.
Yes. The browning of America is happening right now.
When I was a little boy in school, you know what they were teaching us? They were teaching us about the melting pot of America, the melting pot. And what happens with a melting pot? Everything blends. Therefore, that's where the browning of America comes from, because that's what's actually happening.
It is happening, absolutely.
How many of us all now have mixed races amongst our family members? There's a lot of folks now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much unlike it ever was before.
Listen, when I'm at Walmart during the enrollment season for Medicare, and I'm in there 3 or 4 days a week, I sit there, I am amazed at the level of diversity coming through Walmart. You just see that everybody is just mixed together. But now in Florida is a kind of a strange animal in the sense that the East Coast and the West Coast of Florida, they're pretty diverse. When you go through the middle of Florida, going from the east to the west, some of those parts of Florida in the middle there, they're pretty rural, and they can still be Klan country.
You mean like Gainesville?
Yes, right.
Did I say Gainesville right?
Yeah, it's still. But that's the weird thing about Florida, because it is so different on the west and the east coast. And then when you go into the middle is just like, it's very, very rural in the center part of the state going across. So that's the idea, that we're supposedly trying to replace the rightful Americans. So, and then there's also this point of unchecked immigration. Now, just before we came on tonight, we heard DeSantis talking about how Biden is causing drug issues because he's allowing unchecked immigration on our borders. Well, that's not true, but it doesn't matter because he's going to say it anyway. That's one of those things the right's going to say no matter what, that we just want to have open borders and let everybody in, and there's nobody that I know of that's a Democrat that wants that. They just want a fair process that allows people to come in. And quite frankly, I've said this before, I wish they would shut all immigration off. And I'm going to tell you why I wish that. Because when you pay $10 for an orange, because you can't get anybody in the fields to pick the oranges, and you can't get any more workers to go up on the roof and lay roofs anymore, and the roof costs you 5 times what it costs right now, you'll be quick, fast, in a hurry wanting people to come into this country. Who do you think does all of the cleaning up in the hotels?
Well, not the Harvard graduates.
That's right.
They're too important.
Yeah. So you don't want them here, but do you want a clean hotel room? Do you still want to be able to get an orange at a reasonable price?
How about baby formula?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ooh, I mean
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a whole other issue that
Yes.
forced its way into the front of the headlines.
Right. Now, and while we're on this, let me educate you a bit about something that some of you are going to probably want to pick up the phone and call me, and you probably shouldn't because I will only make you feel bad. They were speaking Spanish in the United States before they were speaking English.
Oh yeah.
Did you know that? Did any of you know that if you, as a kid, okay, and I'm gonna have most of you who are my age go back and think about it. When, as a kid, one of my favorite heroes was Zorro.
The Mark of the Z.
Right, who was in California.
Yeah.
And in California, who was there? It was the Mexicans. All those years back. Now you think about how long ago that was. That was in the 50s. Zorro was popular in the 50s. And that was in California. And in California, guess what? There was Mexicans. In Arizona, there was Mexicans. So, I've heard one person over the years said, anybody that comes here and they're in this country, they need to speak English or else. And I go, well, no, because they were speaking Spanish before they were speaking English.
Actually, Spanish is the most spoken language on the whole planet. There's more people that speak Spanish than any other language.
That's true. Yes, Winnie, how are you, my friend?
All right, how y'all doing over there?
Okay.
Yeah, about the Buffalo, that's so sad. That's a hate crime.
Yes.
At Turner Benjamin Crump, he said that he would like to provide Congress to sign that anti-hate crime for blacks. You heard about that? It's a bill.
Yeah. Well, it kind of had something in the Justice Act that they was trying to pass, the George Floyd Justice Act, and it hasn't been able to get passed. But I think what we're going to see happen with Ben Crump's past reputation, I think he's going to sue Fox, and I think he's going to sue Tucker Carlson.
Who?
Tucker Carlson, the guy at Fox, that talk about this replacement theory. I think Ben Crump is going to sue Fox, and I think he's going to sue Tucker Carlson. And there's some precedent for that, because if you think about during the election, Fox was advocating that there was fraudulent voting machines. The voting machine manufacturers have filed a lawsuit against Fox and against the people that alleged that there was fraudulent voting machines. I think they've gone after the big-time conspiracy theorist. His name escapes me. I can see his face, but I can't call his name. But they're after them right now behind those issues. So I would venture to guess Crump is going to go after Fox because
Fox News, Fox.
Yeah, I think because there's so many. I was looking the other day. They said that there's over 400 times Tucker Carlson talked about replacement theory. And his argument is that he is entitled to his opinion. And he is entitled to his opinion, but he's not entitled to foment hate. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And the people, they need to send them people that I see a lot of places they're not hiring. They're good to have the immigrants to come over here to do that work, because lots of people don't want to be cleaning a little hotel or motel or picking oranges and picking grapefruits. That'd be good for them to come over here and to do that. They love to do that. They like to do that. Because people need the word.
Listen,
good workers.
And those people, I'm going to tell you something.
They glad to be over here.
They put a crew of Mexicans when they redid my roof. I had a metal roof put on my house about 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Those guys were the hardest working guys I think I've ever seen. I mean, from sun up to sundown, in that heat, they were out there working on my roof.
Yes,
and we would come out and give them a bottle of water, and they would be so appreciative. But they worked their fannies off, And I see them on my golf course, the course that I belong to. They're out there every day plucking weeds, mowing grass, raking sand traps, That's not stuff that the average person wants to do. That's hard work.
Hard work, yeah. They hard work. They glad. They see opportunity. They glad to work. They hard work. They glad to be over here.
Yes.
And I'm having fun because that's a big help. That's a big help for the for the community. And they hard workers, all of them hard workers.
Yeah.
They good to let them in. I said, let them in, because they hard working people. They're not lazy.
No, they're not lazy people at all. No, they work their butts off. One of my favorite movies recently I've been watching, I don't know if you've ever seen it, it's called McFadden. And McFadden is the story about this is the true coach of a town out in California, and he teaches them how to run and develops a state champion cross-country team. And part of his learning process working with these kids was the parents had gotten upset with the kids for going to practice because they had to pick vegetables and fruit before they went to school and after school. So part of what he did when he was training them, one day he decided he was going to go out and pick fruit with them. Oh man, he did that for a couple of hours, and they had to lay him down on the ground because his
What?
back was going out and everything else.
Oh, really?
But if you ever get a chance, look at McFadden.
That's bad.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, my friend.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. And we got Justin. Yes, Justin.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing? I just had a couple of questions for you. Number one was, how do you know the Mexicans that were on the roof were legal or illegal? And then the other thing was, I'm a young Republican, and the biggest thing is we want people to come in the right way, come in legally, and
Speak.
things, stuff
Okay,
like that.
get closer to your mic because I'm having a tough time hearing you. But okay. I heard you say you're a young Republican.
Yes, sir. Okay, so I don't know. Did you hear my question? Or
Yeah. I don't know whether they're legal or illegal. The people on the roof, you're saying?
Yeah. It was. How do you know the Mexicans on your roof were legal or illegal? And then the second thing was, for us, I mean, I love all kinds of people, white, black, Mexican, however you want it. But we just want people to come in legally and not skip the line.
Okay. I mean, it's hard to argue with that.
By the way.
Huh?
I enjoy your show, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. How can I argue with you about wanting people to come in legally? That's never been. I've never advocated that we accept illegal people. What I'm suggesting, Justin, and I am real confident about what I said earlier. In a way, I wish they would stop all immigration altogether. And when you see what a deficit that is created economically and labor-wise, people would be glad to have them back again.
Yeah.
Think about it, Justin. Think about when you go to a hotel, or if you play golf and you've been to the golf course. Who's doing that work?
I mean, it's definitely most of the time Hispanic.
Yeah. Do you know anybody, including yourself, growing up, that want to do that work?
Yeah.
Huh? Do you know anybody? I don't.
Not very many people now. It seems like a lot of the younger generation, the ones that you would typically see outside doing hard work, they just want to do computer work now.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to do it. Now, I will tell you, I have a couple of friends here locally we're all about the same age, and one of them told me that he used to pick tomatoes in season to make some extra money. And he said that was just absolutely brutal. But for the most part, I don't know anybody who wants to do that work. So why would we not want them to do the work? We're fearful, and this is the point that I want to make to you. We're fearful that if we allow them to come in and be part of our society, that it may cause a power shift from Republican to Democrat. Here's what I want to say to that, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again because I think it's important for you to hear. When I was growing up, most of my father's friends were Republican, almost exclusively Republican. Jackie Robinson was a Republican. Martin Luther King was a Republican. So what changed? The Democrats realized that in order to attract minorities to the party, they had to start doing some things that were attractive for people to vote for them. And they forced out the Dixiecrats who were giving them a bad name. And you know what, Justin? You guys have to do that too. Because we need the Republican Party, but you need to get rid of those people that are masquerading as Republicans who are racist, hiding in ties, huh?
I agree.
Okay. So if you agree, then it's up to you guys to do it. You got to purge it. So just like the Democrats did, they got rid of Jesse Helms and Strom Thurmond. They got rid of those guys. They were all Democrats because they didn't like what they stood for. You guys got to do the same thing. Now, I will say this to you. You made a good start last night when you got rid of that joker from North Carolina, Cawthorn, who I thought gave you all a black eye. You know, but I'm glad you agree with me because there's a lot of people that I would talk to would argue with me, but thank you for acknowledging the truth.
No problem. Hey,
Okay.
I got to run. I got to go.
Okay, Justin, thank you for calling. All right, appreciate you.
Every once in a while, there's a little evidence that you're getting through to people.
Yeah,
You're getting through to folks.
yeah.
Now, folks, now's your time to call because, you know, there are more things that you have in common than I'll bet you that you don't have in common.
Oh,
And if you can
yes.
find that common ground, like you move into a neighborhood and your next door neighbor is not the same color that you are. Well, have a barbecue or cook something and invite them over for some dinner and have a little cookout or a picnic. You watch. Friendships happen like that.
Absolutely.
Relationships strengthen like that, even between men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say that the way to a man's heart, and the women say this, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. You feed him. That's wisdom. So let's have some snookhead soup
Yeah.
or some soul food.
I've never had that snookhead soup. I heard you talk about it
It's
before.
unbelievable. Now I'm not sure how it's made, but I do know that they use the head of the snook. I've never eaten any soup or any food that gives you a euphoric feeling. It's almost like intoxication. It's serious. Snookhead soup, you'll love it. You'll want some more. You'll say, you might want to marry your neighbor, because I'll tell you what, it's a surprise. When you're not expecting something to be as good as it is, you think of snookhead soup, you think, ew. But try it.
Yeah.
I dare you to try it. You'll love it, no matter who you think you are. You'll love it.
You know what? I raised my son with the value of you're not going to look at the plate and say, I don't want it.
Right.
I'm not going to make you eat it, but you're going to try it. And if you try it and decide you don't like it, that's fine.
That's what our parents did to us. You don't have to eat it all. You have to try a little bit of it. That's how I got into like broccoli and Brussels sprouts and stuff.
Exactly.
It works.
Exactly.
It works.
Because Trevor would eat almost anything, and it's only because he tried everything. And most of the stuff he tried, after he tried it, it's like, you know what? That's not bad. I can live with that.
You ever have somebody say, "Oh, I don't like that. I wouldn't eat that." Have you ever tried it? No. Well, how do you know you don't like it?
I know.
Wow.
So now, let me talk about. Justin touched on something. That's part of what my outline here is. The GOP silence on these racist incidents has been deafening. I hear nothing. Why are you acting like cowards? I am so relieved that Justin said, yes, I told him you got to get rid of those people that are giving your party a black eye. And he said, yes, we do. And I'm so appreciative of him saying that because that's the only way it's going to happen.
Well, it's not going to happen from what happened in Buffalo. It's
No.
going to take much more peaceful methods because that's what's worked over the years. With
Yes.
Martin Luther King, it did his thing, with the civil rights movement. He did it in a peaceful manner, and I believe that he most likely refused to get violent and discouraged it as best he could.
He did. In fact, he had some conflicts with Malcolm X and Stokely Carmichael back in his time because of his nonviolent stance. And Malcolm X, which is probably one of the most misunderstood guys there is. Only thing Malcolm X said when he hit the scene was, if you smack me, I'm going to smack you back. As opposed to the approach that Martin Luther King took, which was, having to sit in at the lunch counter and people kicking him and throwing stuff on him in order for them to be able to integrate a lunch counter. Imagine what that was like. You're a young kid, and all you want to do is sit at a lunch counter and get something to eat, and because you're black, they don't want you sitting there. And they throw water on you, they put milkshakes on you, they kick you and beat you out of your chair.
And then they say, whoops, my bad, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you're supposed to sit there and take it. Yeah. And he was able to get people to do that. And when Malcolm came along, he said, no, I'm not looking for trouble, but we're not going to do that anymore. If you do that to me, I'm going to fight back. And that scared people because in the past, we hadn't fought back. I will say, though, if you're paying attention, there has been a couple of Republicans recently that have begun to talk about the infiltration of white supremacists and racism within the party. Most notably, Liz Cheney, who probably on policy 95% I disagree with, but she is courageous. She said it's wrong. You cannot accept it. And she knows she's jeopardizing her ability to get reelected with the stance that she's taken, including being on the investigation committee for January 6th. And we've had, I know Al Campanis, who was one time a leader in the Republican Party, he said he was embarrassed by his party's willingness to accept these racist behavior and white supremacists and say nothing about it. I thought to myself, wow, they had some real courage to come along and they actually make statements about what a offensive thing that it is for them even as Republicans. And my friend Jay, haven't heard from you in a while, buddy.
Yeah, okay. How you doing?
Okay.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since I talked to you. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of this is very serious, and it's so sad. And you know what always flashes back in my mind, what I told you, or I guess maybe about a year ago, I told you my experience when I moved down here to Port St. Lucie from New York, and my introduction to Port St. Lucie was a cop stopping me for nothing for just jogging.
Yeah.
I thought about Aubrey, the guy down in Georgia who was jogging.
Yes.
And was shot for nothing.
Right.
And I thought that if I'd have said something out of the way, and if it wasn't for my white neighbor, a white woman that came up and defended me, I might not be here today.
Yeah.
Okay? Port St. Lucie, Cleveland, just, got aggravated because I told him I don't have no idea. Why would I carry him? I'm not driving a car. I'm just walking and jogging like 50 other people out here you see it, you're looking at right now. And, he got a little excited, but then when she got into the conversation, he calmed down and walked away. But that was just, that's part of the problem in the country now, and it's getting worse and worse. And these people are coming out of the woodwork now. They were in the woodwork, they were under the woodwork, but now they're coming out because they feel brave because of Trump. Now, I heard the FBI agent on MSNBC say that the FBI and Homeland Security know about these white supremacist groups. They got it all down there. They're the number one threat in the United States. And they had an order on before Trump became president that made them classify them like they did as Islamic terrorists. They had them in the same classification where they can be prosecuted and everything. When Trump came in, he took that out. He eliminated that off the books. He eliminated that.
Yep.
And so they gave them a clear thing right now. So that's why, they feel like they can do whatever they want. And, with impunity. They don't figure they don't have to worry about anything. And just like that youngster that was there in New York, upstate New York, there in Buffalo, he felt brave. And look what happened when they found out he was talking about threatening to kill kids in the school. And they took him and gave him a mental evaluation and all that. And he just said he was kidding, so they didn't make it official. They didn't put it on the books, and so there would be a red flag if he did decide to buy a gun. See, all those 10 people would be alive today.
Yep.
If they would have just did that.
You
understand, Rudy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, you're taking part of my thunder. Because part of what I wanted to say was people were upset with black people protesting because of George Floyd. They were upset because Colin Kaepernick took a knee. But there was no black people killing white people indiscriminately because they was white. Hasn't happened. I had a debate with a conservative who's probably listening right now, and I said, show me an incident where a black person went around killing white people indiscriminately because they was white. And he couldn't show me any because there aren't any.
None.
Okay, so now has there been looting? Yeah. Has there been that? Yes. Has there been fires? Yet. But actually going out and shooting white people because they're white, black people haven't done that.
No.
I don't think there's ever been a black serial killer. They're all white men in their 20s or early 30s, statistically.
Yeah, one notorious serial killer of women out in California, but no, for the most part, no.
Yeah.
And so I guess the point that I was trying to make for my listeners is you get so upset about protests, I want you to be equally upset about murders.
Yeah.
And protest, that's a First Amendment right. I mean, you have that. That's in the Constitution where everybody, put their hand on the Bible and swear, that they'll protect and serve and all of that. It's in the book. So I don't know what Trump was getting so excited about.
Yeah, well, because the protests apply pressure.
Yeah.
And which is what protests are supposed to do. I've had this discussion on here before.
Yeah.
If a protest is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable,
that's right.
Because it's designed to make a change.
Yeah.
And if you are not uncomfortable, then you're not going to make any change.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I'm
I
hoping.
heard that Trump was trying to order the army, the military, to come into, I think it was Washington, wherever they
Yes.
were protesting, and he said, "Just shoot him in the leg." I mean, he had the nerve to actually tell the guy in charge of the military,
Milley.
Order them to just shoot him in the leg. You don't have to kill him.
Yeah, Esper. He was telling that to Esper.
Oh, Esper, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he was and there's people listening right now. They love him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure why. I've often opened up the lines and said, "Tell me what it is you like about him," and I can't even get an answer.
Yeah.
I guess they just feel like they don't feel it need to explain anything to me. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. It's a deep thing, but I'm just hoping that that this could turn, get straightened out, and people start to realize that we have to treat everybody with respect and not think one is better than the other because of their skin color or where they came from and all that kind of nonsense.
Absolutely.
Because that doesn't solve anything. But anyway, I'm going to let you go, Rudy. And,
Okay.
glad to talk to you, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your call.
Good old Jay.
Yeah. Here's what I want to say. As we're coming to the end of the hour, what are you prepared to do to protect your fellow Americans? They shot 10 people at a synagogue in Pittsburgh. They killed 9 people at Mother Emanuel Church in South Carolina. They killed 23 people in El Paso, Texas. And now in Buffalo, they killed 10 people. Those are all racially motivated incidents. And as mad as you get at black people for wanting to protest and march and sometimes loot, and they shouldn't, and burn, and they shouldn't, I want you to be just as upset with loss of life. You get upset about loss of property. Property can be replaced. You get upset about loss of goods. Goods can be replaced. But there's loss of life here. And we've now done it pretty close to 100 times or more. When are we going to come together as the American family and care enough about each other that we don't do it anymore? That we care enough about each other that when you have somebody talking to you on Facebook or send you an email that's racist and offensive, that you call them out on it. Because you see, when you call people out on stuff like that, you stop them from doing it. They won't do it anymore. If you let them know that is not acceptable to you, they won't do it. And if enough people say, don't do it, all of a sudden you begin to make an impression on folks about their behavior.
Create a positive peer pressure.
Yes.
I think that the white supremacist thing could go away a whole lot easier if more white folks stood up and said, hey, you can't do that. You can't say that.
That's right.
And, your opinions are one thing, but, they're like things that everybody has. Everybody's got an opinion. And everybody, of course, has a right to express it, but not with intimidation, not with threats, and not with violence, by all means.
And that was part of what Liz Cheney said. Liz Cheney said, out of improper comments grows improper actions. Those comments that start out that way can grow into improper actions. And we, listen, I'm not asking you to go out and tackle anybody in the street. I'm not trying to get you to go arrest anybody. All I want you to do, and you can do this for me, since you listen to me. The next time Uncle Joe is at the table and he makes an off-color comment about brown people, say, Joe, that's not acceptable. Do you have the courage to do that? For your Uncle Joe to be pissed off at you? Or your neighbor, when your neighbor says, you know what? Those daggone people over there, I don't know why they have to be in this neighborhood. That, you need to respond to that.
This is America. You can buy a house anywhere you want.
That's right.
There are laws protecting discrimination against selling real estate.
It is now, yes. Yeah. There wasn't in the past, but there is now. Yeah. But why accept that from your neighbor? Don't accept that from your neighbor, because those people that moved in are a part of your neighbors. So why let somebody else trash them because they look different than you are? Learn something about them.
Yeah, because if you got too much criticism for them, quote unquote, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm asking you to do for me. Tonight, when you turn my show off, I want you, going forward, if you get a post from a friend of yours that is of a questionable nature when it comes to race, object. Because I'm going to tell you how easy it is. The reason why this stuff had gone away for a long time until Trump came is because the public found it was unacceptable by fellow community members. So they didn't feel comfortable out saying it out loud and being heavily critical, such as woke. They weren't comfortable with that, but now they are. Let's make them uncomfortable again. They can still have their attitudes. You don't have to love me. You can dislike me because I'm black. It's okay. Just don't interfere with my right to liberty and pursuit of happiness. But you don't have to like me. It's all right. I ain't upset with you about that. Everybody's not going to like me anyway. So
he who tries to please everyone fails.
Right, exactly.
You can't please everybody, but you know what? If you please yourself to the point to where you're okay with others as they are and who they are, then the what you think they are kind of goes away and things get a little more clarified. You know, you can kind of see more clearly.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind, and I'm just asking you again, for me, just for next, when you hang up with this show tonight, I want you to object. The next time an offensive racist statement is made in your presence, object. It's a place to start.
There you go.
Every little grain of sand on the beach.
Every journey begins with one step. Make that step.
And folks, I'd like to thank you so much for listening to the African American Scene. God bless and be safe, and I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
Martin County Roofing and independent insurance agent Rudy Howard presents the African American Scene Wednesday nights in the 6 p.m. hour on WPSL. Globally on the TuneIn app on your smartphone. Of course, your Google Home and Alexa already know how to turn on WPSL on TuneIn. Hey, Google, play WPSL on TuneIn. Just activated your Google, didn't I? WPSL Port St. Lucie, 7 o'clock.